Hi and welcome to Beyond the Racing Line, the Formula 1 podcast by fans, for fans. The Formula 1 world went off to the home of motorsport, Silverstone, England. What a magnificent event it was. Huge crowds, the weather turned it on in both ways really, racing and for the fans. And we saw, well, some really interesting results across the weekend. I've got Tristan Pocock here to discuss the weekend with me. Tristan, Silverstone is just one of those wonderful places that you could watch Formula 1 racing at for a very long time.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I pumped it up enormously last episode, didn't I?
Yeah, you
All
did.
up and out, ready to go.
I mean, it's not underrated because people certainly rate it, but I'm not sure you named it almost the crown in the jewel.
Jewel in the crown.
Jewel in the crown.
Yep.
Crown in the jewel.
Yep.
I had about 3 goes at starting this episode, and now I'm mixing my words. But yeah, it is, and it was. I know exactly where you're coming from with that. It is just such a classy racetrack, and we do get really enjoyable racing. And yeah, we saw some really interesting results, didn't we? I don't want to get too far into it, but I do want a race ranking quickly before we go too far.
Yep.
Give me a race ranking.
8.
Oh, it's very solid.
8. Just a straight down the line, right between the eyes. 8.
Could not agree with you more. We needed an overtake for the win, which we did actually get.
Well, we kind of got it.
It was just a bit too predictable, I guess.
It's very early. I think we knew it was coming, didn't we?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But so no, a very, very solid 8, and it was just a fantastic race weekend. We've got all the goodies coming tonight. F1.5, fantasy. I'll be interested to see fantasy actually, but yeah, all the goodies. We all signed 3, 2, and 1. And of course our race review. However, we're going to start this episode a little bit differently. We always start with an opening question. There is one coming, but we've actually got a bit of a race review to get us started for the episode.
I haven't heard this, so I'm excited / nervous.
This comes from Paul Cook, our friend in Perth.
Yep.
And Paul has done a little race review for us.
Okay.
And he's also sent in the opening question.
All right, so it's gone full, like a fan episode.
It is wonderful.
Okay, all right, I'm excited for it.
Hey, Roger and Tristan. Thanks for giving me the platform for the opening question. So coming off last week's fan frenzy, I thought I'd record this to save Roger from trying to read this and butchering it.
So true.
And I thought I'd try my hand at the suggested news segment first, the race review, then I'll ask my questions. So here goes my take on the Silverstone race review, and I'm calling it Return of the Mac. What a race weekend for McLaren, with both drivers now using upgrades to their wings. I reckon were it not for the bad timing of a safety car, we probably would have seen both drivers on the podium. Still, huge respect for Piastri for his 4th place finish. And separately in that review, I think we continue to see evidence that the best race strategy one can come up with is to do whatever Ferrari aren't doing. I think choosing that hard tyre compound for the second half of their race was just stupid, especially when you had George putting around, 30 laps on his soft tyres in the opening stint. So they should have seen that and probably thought twice. Tristan, I think you're dead right. Ferrari and the hard compound just don't mix. I was a bit worried when I saw McLaren choosing the hards too. But, on the restart, it did make for some pretty exciting racing. Good to see Lando hold off Lewis there. And yeah, the final observation of the race review would go to the British drivers at home. They were all in the points. Albon coming in 8th in the Williams on his 69th Grand Prix. That's a pretty good performance. I think, George 5th and, Lando and Lewis on the podium. So that was well done all round. And yeah, now on to my opening question. It's an easy one, guys. Where are my stubby holders? Thanks.
Thank you very much, Paul Cook. I think we've found...
Tell you what, that was exceptionally good quality.
I think we've found a new role for...
I think so.
And a new way of us... Let me just turn that line off. A new way for us to get on with our episode.
I like that. Oh, that's good. That was great. Thanks, Paul. That was terrific. That was absolutely first class.
And a voice for podcasting.
Yeah.
Putting us to shame.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't know what to say. That was It was good.
So
I
opening-
listen to it.
Opening question.
Yeah.
All right, I'll go first.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll go first, Paul.
Okay.
I'm out of stubby holders in my house. We need to make some more. It's been on the to-do list for a very long time. Terrible excuse.
Yep.
I've got some old ones with lots of stains on them.
Yep.
Have you got any left at your house?
I reckon I've got like a box of about 150 in my shed somewhere.
I don't think we made that many. I think we only ever made 100 in the first
There's
batch.
a lot. There's a lot
So
in there.
you've got plenty.
I got plenty.
So where we're going to go with this, Paul, is, and I can't even remember, was it because of a fantastic question? I can't remember what it was.
Well, I think it was a good question.
Yes,
and
then we promised, and then we didn't deliver, and we haven't delivered. And I tell you, if Tristan can get me the stubby holders,
Yep.
I will send them off. We will put it. We'll open up your phone right now.
Me.
Put in a little reminder.
All right. Yep.
We've actually got a really busy week this week, but put in a little reminder. We're going to put in our phones that this job needs to be done. I'm blaming Tristan. He can blame me, and that's where we're at. couple of points on his race review needs to be brought up throughout our race review because it was fantastic. I really enjoyed listening to all those bits and pieces. Let's get into the race. Let's talk about qualifying.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the regeneration of the team that is McLaren.
Yes.
Because that was our first little glimpse of, hang on, what Lando did last week
It wasn't a fluke.
wasn't a fluke. We didn't see signs in practice necessarily.
No. And that's probably the thing that I think has probably caught most people out, is that it wasn't there in practice. Like, he wasn't dominating. It was Albon and the Williams which was dominating practice sessions, and they're the ones that you would have happily hedged your bets on.
Yep, absolutely. But yeah, they came alive in qualifying.
Yep.
And Piastri, even though that he was on 50% of the package. So where the McLarens are at is last week Lando got 50% of the upgrades.
Yep.
This week he got another 25%, which I think was front wings to go with the rest of the aero that he'd picked up.
Yep.
Oscar didn't get that last week.
Yep.
He got the 50% this week. He still hasn't got the new wings.
Yep.
That's coming in Hungary. And then there's a possibility that they'll both get all of the rest of the upgrades because there's actually another 25% coming for Lando.
Yep.
And Oscar's actually still due for another 50%. So we weren't seeing that, but what we were seeing was them doing a whole bunch of testing, and they were doing lots of long running. However, Piastri was stuck in the pits for some of his time.
Yeah, he was.
And so it wasn't going to plan. I was just thinking, oh man, this is very McLaren. Like, we saw a little glimpse, and then it's just disappeared straight away.
Yep.
But it turns out, yeah, they were getting the testing done, and then when it was time for action, they made it all happen, and we saw that come alive in qualifying, and it made for a really great qualifying session.
Yep.
To the point where they were like mixing it with the very top of the grid.
Yep.
Other takeaway from qualifying for me was that Red Bull relies on DRS so heavily.
It does, doesn't it?
When the track doesn't suit it.
It's almost like it's the Red Bull's Achilles heel.
Absolutely.
Take it away. And
they were with. I mean, I still think Max being Max, maybe going to get it just across the line.
Yep.
But things weren't easy for them without that DRS in action.
Yep.
And it's we've heard about how important it is to that team, but we saw that firsthand in qualifying.
Yep.
The DRS wasn't available for the first two sessions. The last session, they made it available, and then Max went off into the distance with his qualifying session.
Yep.
But it was an exciting qualifying, and
it's fantastic.
And we saw
changeable conditions.
Yeah, and we saw the changeable conditions cause havoc. We saw a few little red flags here or there, and a few little interruptions just disturb the drivers enough that once again we saw Perez drop out. We'll talk about Perez more in the race.
Yep.
But we saw Perez drop out in that first session. We saw a few other little incidents here and there, and then we saw it all come alive. We moved into the race, and that's where Paul's race review comes into handy, because it was a Max show, wasn't it? Like, it was, even though we saw at the start that the McLarens managed to jump Max.
Yep.
We saw what looked inevitable, that he was just going to get the job done eventually. You wondered how long the McLarens were going to hold him off, because they'd showed really good pace. But one thing we know about the Red Bull is it takes a few laps to turn those tyres on. Once they're on, they're off, baby. They are off into the distance. And so we do see some closer racing in the first few laps, but until everyone can match them once those tyres are switched on, there's no chance. And Max being in the form that he's in, just seems so relaxed about what he's doing at the moment, and life must be so good for the man.
Yeah, they are the blueprint to success for this year, and I think for many years to come.
Yeah, there's a little bit of hope, I guess, that next year's not going to be as far away.
Yeah.
I think we're seeing teams starting to sort of find some form and find where their cars are at. And as we know, new regs often do this to us.
Yep.
A team gets it right, off they go. And then it takes a few years for all the catch-up to happen, and then eventually, by the time we've come up with new regs, which will be 2026, everyone's gone nice and close. But then we go and start that cycle all over again. Yeah.
So I want to talk upgrades really, really quickly.
Really important. At this part of the season, incredibly important.
So McLaren's in particular, because McLaren have gone down the path of what Aston Martin have done. And this is my big thinking and my takeaway from the weekend, is that next year, I just want you to think about this while I go through the McLaren upgrades and what they're doing that's similar to what Aston have done. Next year, are we going to see 20 Red Bulls on the grid? Just when you think about that, like aerodynamics, the whole package, because there's a really great illustration that's up at the moment doing the rounds, and it's of the McLaren upgrade. So these are just some examples of the upgrades that McLaren have brought that are mirroring exactly what the Red Bull is. So we take side pods, for example, entryway to the side pod, and the actual more sort of really aggressive, it's called the water slide. Water slide look to the side pods has been incorporated. So the McLaren of a couple of weeks ago had quite a large opening, and it was more of like a wave look, but now it's gone straight downwards, which is really aggressive. It was the path that Alpine took.
Yep.
Right at the end of last year, it's the pathway that Aston Martin have taken as well. They've incorporated more aggressive styling on the barge board. They've taken the cutout away from the floor. They've opened up the shelf on the back of the engine cover. Again, all of this is really similar to the Red Bull.
Yep.
The shark fin has increased. The ducted cooling, which was very it was more Mercedes-like, with the large ducted coolings that went along the side of the engine cover, but now it's more streamlined and miniature. It sits on the shelf as a bodywork. Then you've also got the aero fins that sit atop of the halo, and you've got the more aggressive downward-looking mirrors. So all of that, if you see a side-by-side comparison of the new McLaren, the Aston Martin, and the Red Bull, I'll tell you what, if you were really, really good at Photoshop and you quickly flick those liveries around, you'd probably have the same car 3 times.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've seen this forever and a day.
Yeah.
Imitation is the absolute highest compliment.
Yep.
And I think we were in an unusual spot where we had such different designs.
Yep.
In recent history of Formula 1. I mean, back in the day, of course we saw lots of these different designs.
Yeah.
But in recent history, the last 10 years, the cars have pretty much been the same anyway.
Well, I think...
And so this year, with the radical changes, there were some really, really big changes to the regulations in the last couple of years, which meant that teams were coming from it from different directions. Of course, they're going to converge on the team that's dominating, and they are dominating this competition. You'd be silly if you think that you've got the right answer with what you've started with.
You know, I think it was Force India that started this real open trend of it too, where, you know, they were dubbed the pink Mercedes from a few years back. But I think because they've got it so right, that teams now are looking at it and going, well, yeah, we had a lot of concepts, and again, I talked about this last week, I still think Ferrari had a concept that was going to work as well. But they've got it so right that every single team has gone, you know what, let's not worry about mucking around and try and do something different. This team has nailed it, we haven't, let's just go down that path.
And as soon as you can get along that path, and as soon as you can get to understanding that path, there seems to be so much development in it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where they're all excited about getting. If we can get on par with Red Bull in terms of we're down this path, we're going to have a whole lot more data to understand.
Yeah.
We're going to be able to continue to keep an eye on what they're doing, but then we're going to be able to put our minds to what we're doing.
Yep.
And so, yeah, it sort of makes sense. Look, I don't have a huge problem with it, to be honest with you.
I don't. I'm okay with it. I feel like one day we'll just go down the path where everyone's car will be exactly the same.
Oh, gosh, I hope not.
No, me neither, but I feel like it will. Max
Yeah.
talked last week that the 2026 regs are going to be an ICE or an internal combustion engine sort of formula. Where it's
Well,
just
that's what his hope is. That's what his
as long
hope
as you got
is.
the package that's the engine, then
Yep.
you're set to go. So anyway, and I think there are a lot of different factors in that too. If you think about the budget cap, if you think about the spend, if you think about the wind tunnel time, teams probably don't have that luxury anymore
Yep.
of being able to have a long-term solution or have the time to play around with different concepts, because it's going to cost money and it's going to cost time. So if you know there's a solution out there, get your base platform right and then tweak it. Tweak it where you can find a tenth here and there and do some small innovation that will just take you a little bit further up the grid. I mean, it's not time consuming. It won't be a huge cost to teams. Sticks within the budget. You can just sort of play around with, I guess, nuances.
And I guess that's the other thing is with the limited amount of budget they've got now.
Yeah.
They can't afford to be really experimental with crazy ideas that are out there.
You can't go and create a new sort of side pod idea.
Yeah. You certainly hope that teams still have like the out there ideas team that is just playing with some really crazy ideas.
Yep.
You hope that the spend cap's not really limiting on how creative teams can be.
True.
But yeah, Max, once again, it was a performance to behold. Perez, on the other hand, it's an interest. We talk about this regularly. It feels like someone puts themselves in this position every year, and it's generally with the top team because the one driver is embarrassing the other driver. And this time it's Perez's turn to go through that. We're saying his praises throughout the throughout the early part of this season, last season. But his qualifying woes is costing him big time. Race performance isn't as bad. In fact, in some situations, that's maybe holding him up because he's been able to come through the field. But once again, he qualified 15th. And what that meant was that he struggled to get through the field, and he ended up in a really strange position where he was 6th position, couldn't even sort of break into the top 5, and that top 5 included teams that haven't been there for quite some time. So, yeah, it was an interesting sort of situation. Perez's problems seems to be just getting worse and worse, and it's one of those ones where I think he would hope that the mid-season break could not come soon enough.
Yeah, I think so too. It's what, 4 or 5 on the bounce where it's Q3 and he's out?
5, yeah.
5 on the bounce.
So he hasn't come into Q3.
Yeah, and I mean, look, once or twice you can sort of say, it's an off weekend, it's not quite working, but geez.
When you're in this machine that is obviously so impressive under Max's reign.
Absolutely.
And we've seen this before, though. We've seen other teammates fall to Max.
Yep.
Gasly, Albon, Perez is now going through that. It's one of those situations where, well, maybe everything isn't as rosy as what they'd hoped for.
Yep.
Do you get the feeling that Max would really like Dan Ricciardo to be his teammate?
Yeah, possibly.
Some of the comments, it's not saying things about Perez. He's playing it really, really well. Yep. It's not blatantly obvious. But I am seeing signs that Max would much prefer to have Ricciardo in there. He speaks highly of him.
And I think they've got that past relationship.
They have.
That it bodes well for that too.
Yep.
How much say Max gets in that? Well, who knows? Who knows?
Come on. Give me a guess. How much say he has in that?
How much?
Max Verstappen, the man that is absolutely winning world championships for fun at the moment. He's relaxed. He's the right image for the team. He's going to have a huge say over that. Well, when I say huge, his side can place huge pressure on that team to get what he needs.
Yep.
It depends on how passionate he's about it.
Yep.
But I've got a feeling there is work being done by the Verstappens, possibly by Helmut.
Yep.
Not entirely sure about Helmut. There's rumours that he's on his swan song and might be out by the end of the year for retirement.
Yep.
But I don't know. I think if Max felt really passionately about it, and Perez continued to annoy him in different ways, I think we could see that possibly happen.
I reckon he has no say in it. I think he could give an opinion, and it would probably be heard. but
quite strongly.
Whether or not it would be accident, and what makes me think of that is Lewis and Valtteri in Valtteri's last year.
I couldn't agree more.
Because Lewis is like, no, I want him. He needs to say, and Lewis is like, Lewis is to Max.
But do you think that possibly Lewis kept him for an extra amount of time? Like, do you think that Lewis had already had plenty of his say?
He had that say and had the opportunity to keep.
Yeah.
No, I think Valtteri sort of.
Oh, look, I agree. Valtteri was
I think he had his time.
well.
He was performing well enough.
There was calls for Russell the year before, didn't come through. I wonder whether, the time's come. Yep, we heard you the first time, but the time's come. Come on, we've got to move on as a team.
Yep.
I mean, for me, it depends a lot on Ricciardo's doing some work in the tyre test as we speak.
Literally right now, I've been scrambling for a live feed.
There's a lot that depends on this. There's another one in September. There's a possibility you might step into a AlphaTauri.
Yep.
Before the season's ended. There's a lot that depends on that. But for me, it feels a little bit like... It feels for me like there's a... You know what? Perez is very like for like with Ricciardo.
Yep.
Ricciardo's a whole lot more marketable. He's going to keep our number one man happy. The swap might make more sense for that team in time. But this is only if Perez can't change that team's mind in two ways. And that's by being really competitive, like he was early in the season.
Yep.
But we used to see that with Bottas and Rosberg quite regularly. They'd fire up at the early part of the season and just could not keep up with the champ, which is fair enough. And I'm not saying Ricciardo's going to be able to either.
Yep.
It might be the worst thing Ricciardo does for his career, like for his image as a driver. But if he can't keep up being competitive, and he's not at the moment because he's finishing in sixth spot in this fantastic car, or if he can't turn the Verstappen camp around, therefore the Red Bull camp, because I'm not entirely sure Red Bull's overly happy with him either, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair comment.
So I think if he can't do those two things, then he's in some trouble. But there's still more than half a season left.
I heard the best conspiracy theory
on
all of this.
I like them.
And it caught my attention because as ridiculous as what it is, a little bit of it made a little bit of sense. So the YouTuber that I was watching, it just popped up. YouTuber that I was watching,
sure it was. You were searching.
Made the comment that with Nick de Vries leaving or potentially leaving in a couple of weeks, which he's halfway through his 4-week notice.
Yep.
Yeah, halfway through his 4-week notice. So let's say he leaves in a couple of weeks. That Max has got this championship so sewn up in every way, shape, and form that Max could be asked to go and jump in the AlphaTauri for the rest of the season. Right? Yeah, this is what he said. This is what I watched. So De Vries gets his bag packed. See you later.
You're out.
Max jumps in the AlphaTauri, and he jumps in the AlphaTauri just to see how good the AlphaTauri is, just in general. And while that's happening, you then have Dan go and step into
Ricciardo,
the Red Bull.
And they have a straight fight.
Next to Perez. And you let them battle it out for the last couple of races, while Max is sort of putting a test to Yuki to see how good Yuki is in the AlphaTauri and see just how good the AlphaTauri is. And then you've got the other two fighting it out for the rest of the season to see whoever comes out on top will take that second seat.
What a fantasy world!
And as ridiculous as all of that sounds,
it sounds fun.
Wouldn't it be great to watch?
It sounds fun.
Imagine pulling Max out of the Red Bull so early. The literal stat of that is he doesn't have to win another race for the rest of the year, and he can still win the title.
Well, he must be getting close.
He does not have to win anymore. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine I actually don't have to win anymore?
Well,
anyway.
It won't be far away.
Far away.
It is. Yeah, it's a fanciful world that person lives in.
Yep.
I like the idea of it, but yeah, it'd be good for the championship.
Would be. It would be interesting, wouldn't it? Just really interesting.
Do you think he'd win in the AlphaTauri?
Yeah, of course he would.
Please,
of course he would. You could put him in anything. You could put him in anything right now. Anything.
Now you've lost it.
No.
I mean, those cars are physically not fast enough to be able to make it happen. He would get great results. Don't get me wrong. He would get great results.
It wouldn't surprise me if he turned up day one in the AlphaTauri and put it on the podium.
It would surprise me a lot. Yeah. Let's get on to McLaren because we've talked about McLaren and their upgrades and the similarities to Red Bull.
Yep.
Norris, it was a fine drive. It was a really, really great drive. It was started with his great qualifying.
Yeah, practice 1 he was 8th.
Yep.
So it was a slow burn throughout the weekend. Practice 1 was 8th, and then during practice 2 down to 14th, about a second and a half off. Obviously we had, rain and that interrupted too.
And testing. They were testing new parts.
Yep, practice 3 was in 12th, and this is it. This is what really, as I was saying, this is what shocked all of us, because you've got the likes of the Williams, where Logan Sargent was 7th in practice 3. Alex was 2nd and 3rd all weekend, and
there was excitement.
Hang on.
There was excitement.
What have Williams turned up with?
Yep. And then he came out and qualified 2nd.
Held pole provisionally
Yes.
for that final lap.
Yes.
Just held it, but
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
tense.
And we're probably going to talk about the McLarens together. Oscar Piastri, likewise, really fantastic result.
Yep.
He started in... Where was he? He started in 3rd.
He started 3rd, so it was a 2-3
started
start.
3rd.
Yep.
And then off they went. Great start. Outstarted Max.
Yep.
Once again, Max not always great. And that Red Bull actually, if there's any weakness, which it's not really because it's so early in the race, it just doesn't turn its tyres on quite as quickly as
Doesn't quite get off the line. So Oscar had the launch of all 3 of them.
Yes.
Almost went down the inside.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But so they had a great start. Norris managed to get ahead of Verstappen.
Yep.
Verstappen took the back off him after 5 laps, which was to be expected. Piastri kept the pressure on them both.
Yeah, hung really closely.
By lap 6, they were telling Piastri to hold off. We heard it on lap 7, but it was a lap 6 call.
Yep.
That we're going to hold position on Oscar. So he's obviously got the speed. And then we get through a huge chunk of the race. They then go about tyre management. And I love this about what McLaren did. How did you feel about the whole position?
Yeah, I'm okay, because it made sense. Because Lando was in DRS, and then that was Oscar saying, don't worry about trying to fight each other.
Yep.
Drag each other along.
Yep.
And so
we're going to do this as a team.
And I love that. I thought that was really, really good.
And they set themselves up beautifully
Yep.
for the race. And I would have been really interested to see if we got to the last 10 laps, would they let them have a go at it? I doubt it.
I don't think so either.
They sort of owed Lando one for when Lando held position for Dan and Monza.
I think so too.
But so it was that situation, and things were looking rosy.
Yep.
Oscar comes in for tyres.
Yep.
Longer stint than expected. Comes in for tyres. Went the hards because there's still a good chunk of the race to go.
Yep.
A lap later, Magnussen blows up. And we've got the safety car. And I am nearly tearing up for the man. I'm nearly tearing up for the man because everyone who watches Formula One knows that if you do the pit stop and a safety car comes out just after you've done that, you've been screwed over by the world of racing. But you know what? It is racing. Isn't it? But it's such a hard one to swallow.
I'll tell you what. My opinion on this safety car in VSC, I reckon it was one of the, if not worst, VSC calls.
What would you like to see?
It should have been safety car
right from the get-go.
Straight away.
Yeah, so that wouldn't have made any difference, though.
I think I kind of think it would have, because we went VSC straight away. And my first thought while this is all happening was not Oscar, because on the side of the road you've got K-Mag out of the car is on fire, there's no escape road. My first instant thought is, why on earth is that a VSC? Like, a situation like that
was unusual,
is never a VSC.
They were never going to be able to retrieve that car.
No way. So if you are close to like a marshal post, or you are off the track on the side of the road, fair enough.
Yep.
It was literally on fire. Never in my life of watching Formula One have I ever thought that a car on fire in the middle of the track is VSC. I say middle of the track, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but it was on track.
Yep.
And then we had VSC for quite an extensive amount of time, and then we went safety car. So all of that I didn't understand. I think that was a shocking call.
I mean, the only way that compounds, or the only way that improves Oscar's position in this situation is if he's in the right spot on the track. Yeah, and
I don't know.
You've got to be in the exact right position on the track. For them to catch the leaders, because that's their job, is to try and catch the leaders. The leaders come in, they do their pit stop, and in that time, Oscar has to be on a certain spot on the track where he can go and round them up.
Yep.
Which he's already done his pit stop, so it's unlikely because they're doing a shorter time pit stop, and so it's just you're still in that situation where
I think what it did is it lended itself to Lewis, because it gave Lewis more time to get around for another lap.
100%, and so I agree with you. They managed it really poorly, but I don't really think it compounded Oscar's situation. But I was in tears. I was upset because while I thought that Oscar could get through the pack as where he needed to,
Yep.
it was still that situation.
What do you think of the length of the safety car too? Because I thought it was too long.
It was
as well.
It was all about where he parked it because that thing blew up and he parked it nowhere near a wall. So there was a lot of retrieval, there was a lot of checks, and then they had all the stuff on the track.
Whether or not it was because it was late night, but I was watching that and I was thinking, why on earth are we not coming in? How many more safety laps are we going?
It did feel long, but I think it was all about the position.
Yes. Anyway, he did a great job and looked thoroughly deserved. And this is the hard one. Like, how are we up for an Oscar podium next week?
So let's finish this race. So Norris goes into second, which is fantastic for McLaren.
Yep.
What a turnaround.
Awesome.
Andreas Seidel.
Yep.
Holy moly, like, fantastic. No.
Andreas Stella,
sorry. Fantastic. He's come in, he's changed the fortunes of this team. Andreas Seidel has gone off to Sauber. I love him. I think he's a great guy.
I think so too.
However, obviously, they've made some changes here.
Yep.
And it's such a turnaround. Them Oscars should have been picking up third. Hamilton, huge beneficiary of
the safety car.
Yeah,
massive.
And we'll talk about Hamilton and how overrated he was for the whole weekend. But it was even though Oscar didn't come to that podium, and which is what we all desperately wanted to see.
Yep.
It felt like it was the awakening of the Piastri, the Formula One driver. We've had him in almost practice mode because that car's been so uncompetitive. He's been able to learn his craft. He's been able to just get through. I've talked about the fact that we don't need the spotlight on him at the moment while this car's performing the way it is. All of a sudden it's performed and he has just come alive and shown us what he's capable of.
Yep.
And it was just really exciting. And I know this is an Australian podcast and people overseas are probably thinking, get over it. It's just an Aussie, just because it's an Aussie. It was the coming alive of a racing driver, and I really, really enjoyed it, even though it wasn't his podium.
Yep.
It was a wonderful weekend for Piastri.
Yeah, I thought it was great too.
Yep. I liked the way he carried himself across the weekend too. Seemed to relax into the role a little bit more. Early in the season seemed a bit uptight, whereas later in the season, or now, we're seeing him, very calm, really natural, not trying to put anything on.
Yep.
It was,
just a casual fourth place, almost podium as a rookie.
But spoke really maturely about it.
Yeah, it's like, nice work,
and
guys.
that's everything you hear from the team. He's so mature. He's just so calm. He's just got it all together. He's a real leader. Yep. It was fantastic to see.
Really, really good.
Mercedes, they did not qualify anywhere near the way that they ended up finishing the race. Like I said, so qualified in, Lewis was 7th. Russell was, where did he end up qualifying?
George qualified
6th.
6th
Lewis
and 7th for qualifying.
7th. Yep, they would have been a little bit surprised. We're going to get to do a segment on this in a minute.
Okay.
They would have been a little bit surprised at where it was at. However, by the time the race finished, Lewis was a huge recipient of the safety car.
Yep, massive.
Massively overrated weekend for Lewis.
However,
in saying that, this man has picked up 14 podiums at this racetrack.
Well, said last week, Silverstone. Your prediction was right, Lando for second. I said Lewis for second.
Yep. Incredible weekend for, incredible career at this racetrack, but it was an overrated weekend. He skipped ahead of his teammate, Piastri, the Ferraris. It just picked up incredibly for him.
Yeah, the Astons weren't anywhere near where they should have been either.
But it's just funny how certain drivers at certain tracks, things just fall in place. And you sort of, I'm not a big one on luck. Everyone knows that.
Yep.
This man just makes his own luck happen.
You got to be there when the moment.
You got to be ready to go. And he held out that little bit of extra time before he made the pit stop.
Yep.
And that there's credit in doing that. Russell came in earlier.
Yep.
And that's what happened to Russell. And so, it was just overrated drive.
Yep.
But the man still makes his own luck.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you there.
Many cringeworthy moments for Lewis over the weekend. I find he gets more cringeworthy in England than anywhere else. But we're going to talk about that a little bit later on.
All right. Sounds good.
Russell's race.
Yeah, it was just, it was sort of, Russell's race was probably more representative of the Mercedes and their speed and where they should be just in general. So, 5th is probably there. If the Ferraris don't have to run the hard tyres, well then, let's be honest, he's 7th.
Yep.
And that's probably where they are.
Yep. It felt like Lewis was getting the upper hand on Russell in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
For Russell to get the qualifying position over Lewis in the end.
Yep.
I mean, the race didn't turn out his way. Wasn't because of what Russell was doing.
Yep.
It was more because of what was the way that Lewis's race panned out.
Yep.
Russell took the early pit stop and it sort of cost him.
Did you know from the time of George's partnering of Lewis to the end of qualifying this weekend, the total point difference between both of them is 1 point.
Wow, really?
Yep, that's spot on. Like from the time George stepped into that Mercedes to post qualifying on Saturday, the difference between the two of them is a single point.
By the point?
Lewis was up by 1.
That's incredible.
Which is incredible. It speaks really well of really highly of what George has been able to do with that Mercedes.
Absolutely.
Toto Wolff came out today and said that they are officially abandoning the concept in a couple of weeks.
I thought they'd done that already.
No, it is official. Well, I thought they had to, but
why would you stick with it for another couple of weeks?
Yep. Officially, and he is now.
Sorry, is that because there's updates coming in a couple of weeks?
I think it is. I think, and that's it. And then they're fully abandoning it,
yeah.
and then they're working on next year's car.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So he's also come out and said they are not against the full Red Bull package now as well.
Interesting.
I think he's just going to. Honestly, they have to swallow their pride. And they have to openly recognise it.
You were early on this.
I was.
You were early on this.
I know. I went really early on it.
Yep.
Just to go so left field of everyone else. It has it. They have to come out, and I hope they do next week and just go, no. Maybe this is a sign of saying we are abandoning this project. It has not worked.
I think you're going to enjoy the segment coming up.
All right, good. I'm excited.
Trista doesn't know about these things.
I don't read the pre-race.
Don't worry, it's not in there because you don't read it. I don't make one.
No, I don't.
Fernando Alonso
in
the Aston Martin. Is this a situation where they've made their running and now everyone's caught up, or is this just a little blip in their season? He came out and said that I'm not going to not be on the podium again.
I think that was a bit tongue-in-cheek when he said that, but we all
Everyone's holding it.
We all latched onto it, didn't we?
Yeah.
Look, I don't know. I like to give teams about 4 weeks is usually my time period, just to sort of say, okay, yes, you've got it or you haven't. We need to have a look at where are we up to. We're off to Hungary.
Yep.
To Hungary next year.
In 2 weeks.
And in 2 weeks' time. We need to have a look at what they're doing there because
different track,
high speed. Lando and McLaren were talking up their high speed running and how well they are going, and that they're not okay in the slow speed. Now we're going to head off to there in a couple of weeks' time, and it's going to be slow speed running. So I wonder if are we going to see a resurgent Aston Martin because they're running in the slow speed? Is that
they were pretty impressive in the slower corners at Austria though?
They were, and that's
so
it. So I don't know, and that's it. Like I think we absolutely need to celebrate McLaren for this weekend. We'll wait and see. I'm still holding station for a couple of weeks, and same with Aston. I'm having just what are they? I don't know.
Mike Craik was fairly confident that things are going to turn around pretty quick.
I think so too.
Sorry, not turn around.
Yep.
His comment was, look, we've got some updates coming. It's been a little bit of a hold station, but it's not like we're being left behind here.
Yep.
And so I like that comment. I like that he was fairly strong in, we understand where everyone's at, and we're going to be there too.
I'd be interested to see what they are. They're running a couple of different configurations to other teams. They've got quite an open rear end of the car, and the shark fin is quite high. It's a little bit like Haas were running a couple of years ago, where there's a large sort of mailbox cutout section just above the housing of the exhaust, and then the shark fin sits just above that. So I wonder if they're having cooling issues at the moment. I don't know. There seems to be a little bit more open-ended bodywork at the back. So I don't know. We'll wait and see. Are they going to chop and change and be more track specific, or are they going to, like you say, they're holding station? Are they coming through? Don't know. I feel disappointed as a fan, because they were the feel-good story of the year, and out of nowhere, they've just disappeared. And I think that's as much of a shock as what McLaren's success was a shock to everyone at Silverstone as well. So
I was expecting a little bit of fire from Fernando Alonso. We didn't quite see, I think, the Alonso factor come into the team here.
No, I think they're lucky that Alpine DNF'd as well, because they were all over him. He was going backwards. You could see in the first stint that Aston was openly going backwards down into the field. I mean,
they didn't double DNF on their own.
They didn't.
Let's talk about the next guy.
They didn't. Oh dear, oh dear.
Lance Stroll.
Dear, oh dear.
one of the worst moves I've seen for a while.
It was...
Contact wasn't high, I'll give him that. It wasn't like he clattered into him.
No.
It looked like... We've seen that Alpine actually put up with quite a battering.
Well, most of them are almost bulletproof these days.
Yeah, it's got away with it. Whereas this one, I mean, it was terrible driving. Don't get me wrong. The driving was rubbish.
Yep.
But yeah, smashed into it. Oh, cut the corner, then smashed into Gasly. It was a weekend to forget. There were was there penalties, I think, again?
Yeah, there was a 5-second penalty to him as well, right at the end of the race.
Thoughts on 5 for that? If you run wide 5 times, you get 5.
Yeah, lucky.
DNF to driver
10
should have been 10.
10 should have been 10.
I think there's a stop go in it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree with you too. I think it's a 10.
If your poor driving equates to somebody retiring,
yep,
you've got to stop go.
There's a difference between elbows out, really hard fought battling, and just openly banging wheels.
Yep. Absolutely. Yep. It was fully his fault.
Absolutely.
He cut the corner, then crashed into the driver.
Yeah, broke the suspension.
I actually Gasly didn't give him enough room the first time round, so he didn't get a penalty for being ran wide.
Yep.
Which I quite liked that. I thought they looked at that well. Gasly didn't give him a huge amount of room in this one, and I think this is where maybe Lance Stroll has got off a little bit. Yep. There was room, but there wasn't a huge amount of room on that corner. So he's cut the corner, but there still wasn't really the excuse to go and clatter into him. That's the defence, I imagine, is that Gasly maybe not quite enough room for Stroll to get around that corner. But if your poor driving results in you DNFing a car, it should be a stop-go.
And I think you could openly see that he needed to back out of that.
Yep. So, it was, that's right. It was interesting racing. But, it was definitely Stroll racing.
Yep.
Alex Albon.
Well,
Williams.
From zero to hero, kind of back to zero,
then to hero-ish.
Yeah. I want to say zero-ish because he was 8th and still collected 4 points. And Logan Sargent, very unlucky not to have a point too. But just straight out of the blocks. Second, third, second. And we're like, what? I was like, what? Surely not. So much so that I needed to really think about this right on Friday night and Saturday at about 8 when we were watching FP3. Because I brought Logan Sargent into my fantasy team. Because I was watching it that closely. And I was like, I need to know, and this is just sort of as a fan, if something is going so well, I need to know right away, is it actually really going that well?
So reactive.
But I waited, watched all the sessions. Oh, yeah, practice 1, okay, maybe that's lucky. Practice 2, conditions were changeable. Practice 3, they were still there, and they were both still there. And I thought about it forever, and I thought, nah, actually, this pace is actually red hot. It's really there. But then race day, it wasn't. Was it qualifying? They were out of sync for qualifying. They didn't qualify really, I guess, where they should. Alex still qualified. Where did he qualify? Alex qualified 8th, which was okay.
And finished
8th. So I feel like Alex could have qualified higher. Like, really, he should have out-qualified George and Lewis.
Yeah, but you're taking too much from practice.
Yeah,
and that's what it is.
It was probably
practice. You were keen. You've been waiting for this moment. You've been waiting for the Williams to wake up for a long time.
And I've been really bullish about him this year.
I
know. And then
because it's not because of your head telling you anything. No, it's your heart.
You
don't want to be broken again.
I know. And Logan Sargent actually did really, really well. And he was 14th, but he had his lap time to lead it too.
Yep.
Jeez, tell you what. Did you get flashbacks from last week when you heard track limits?
No, I was okay with it.
Oh, God, I wasn't. I thought, surely not again.
To be honest with you,
it was like, I'm okay with it.
I think the drivers have learned a lesson.
Yeah, well, we didn't.
Honestly, we saw some. It was obviously there to happen. But lo and behold, the good drivers
didn't have 1,200, did we?
Yeah, that's right. The good drivers managed to keep it on the track, and so lesson learned. I think it's a win.
Did you know last week it was only George and Joe who had penalty-free, not even a mention of track limits.
Yeah.
Literally a faultless weekend from both of them last week.
Anyway, I told you that on last week's episode.
Did. Sorry, I must have heard it
Good
again.
listening. But Albon and Williams, it's great to see them. I mean, this track was always going to suit them. The Williams does love the high-speed circuits.
Yep.
We'll see them again in Monza. Look forward to it. But, they're not quite in this position, but it is great to see the improvement that they've made. And Alex Albon's having a fantastic season. Great to see him grab the 4 points.
I'm going to ask you this question. I'm going to ask you frequently now for the rest of the year. I said a couple of weeks ago that Alex Albon could be a target for a top team.
Yeah.
Yep. Would a top team take him this week?
No.
If a seat came open?
No, not at the moment.
You don't reckon?
No. He's nowhere near that, and he doesn't need that in his life at the moment.
I think he is.
I think he can definitely be. I don't know of any of our top teams that are going to be patient enough to make that work for him.
Right.
I think he could be a world champion. Honestly, put it with the right people and the right team, I think he could be a world champion. But at the moment, all our top teams are in this weird situation where Red Bull, like, you wouldn't trust them with a driver like Albon. We've tried that once, it didn't work.
Yep.
Ferrari would do nothing but destroy the man's career.
I don't think so.
He's not strong enough. Like, Science, you'll give him credit because he's strong enough to stand up to the crap that Ferrari deliver.
Yep.
In terms of strategy calls.
Yep.
He can beat them off enough, but he can't beat off all the rubbish calls.
Yep.
Whereas Albon's not that sort of character, I don't think, at the moment.
Yeah.
So I think he just needs to ride this wave with Williams.
Yep.
And just let it keep on going. Another season, and next year ask me the question, I'm all on board.
All right.
But I think just while Williams are improving, it's good for his career to lead that team.
Yep.
But
fair.
I rate him really highly, just not at the moment.
Okay.
But yeah, like you said, great to see Logan Sargent.
Oh, awesome! I wish he had scored points.
Needed the stronger weekend, and he got it.
Yep.
Let's talk Ferraris.
Ugh.
They were looking really strong throughout the weekend. Practices, like when I've just said, you can't take too much out of practices, but practices, they were looking really strong, continually getting up there.
Yep.
Qualifying, they would have been disappointed to be pipped by the McLarens.
Yep.
However, the McLarens were on it, and they were just behind them, so they were next in line. Leclerc in fourth, and then we saw Sainz in fifth. Come race results, and it just all went backwards. And it went backwards because of strategy. Who would have thought? They pitted early for the hards. And that was really important because they were going to trick everyone else into pitting early and following them into this little situation.
Yeah.
And no one bit. Not one person bit.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. It was an interesting one. Fred Vasseur, not happy.
Understandable.
Not happy. Now, he said he was going to take some time to examine what's going on with this team, because this team has they got some resources. They got passion. They got all the things that they need to be successful.
Yep.
However, they continually make poor decisions when it comes to a race day. Like, that car's not bulletproof by any stretch of the imagination, but it's competitive.
Yep.
And it doesn't look competitive enough on race day.
No, it doesn't.
And he still hasn't made changes. I feel like, though, the time for watching's over.
Yep.
By all reports, he was pretty peed off with the situation. I imagine we're going to see some changes within that organisation for the second half of this year.
Yep.
And thank God for that. Thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you. Absolutely. Totally agree with you in every way, shape and form.
Oh, jeez, I don't get that very often.
No, I know.
Might have to keep that as a clip and just listen to it late at night. Anyone else you want to mention?
Anyone else that I want to mention?
Nick DeFree's a watch person at the moment. 17th, however, his teammate was only just in front of him. So it wasn't necessarily a Nick DeFree thing. It was more of an AlphaTauri, but Nick DeFree probably needs to be finishing in front of his teammate if he's going to have any hope.
No, that's not going to happen.
Any hope whatsoever.
Where was he last week?
I think he was ahead of his teammate in the end last week, or there were parts of his weekend that was ahead.
You don't save your drive with 18th.
No. Oh, no, absolutely. And being one position, 17th he was, being one position behind Yuki Tsunoda. Probably the only other team I want to mention is poor old Alpine. So they're in a bit of no man's land at the moment.
Just a weekend to forget.
There is rockets about to come to that team. They've got updates coming.
Okay, yep.
But they've also been fairly positive about where they've been going at the moment. Ocon had a DNF. That's racing. Sometimes that happens. And poor old Pierre Gasly was run off the road, had to retire. So they had a double DNF.
Yep.
Huge loss of points because their main contenders are now McLaren, and McLaren's jumped them in a huge weekend.
Okay.
When Alpine have had a terrible weekend. They've got some pressure on them. Big pressure on them.
I think so too, yep. Hey, Ferrari, So weekend after, when we're looking at going to Hungary, so we should have the C3, the C4, and the C5, which means that the hard compound that Ferrari will run on, so the hard, will be this week's soft.
Yep.
Yeah. So just something to consider if you're a Ferrari fan out there, because that's my theory for this year. Ferrari on the hard tyre does not work.
So this is a soft hard.
So it's a soft hard.
So that's going to work.
Well, I don't know.
This is a soft hard.
It's a soft hard. So I don't know. It might work.
I love that Formula One decided that they were going to make it easier for the fans to understand the tyres.
By having 6 compounds.
And the hard one was the soft one this weekend.
Yep. So what we were running as soft this weekend will now be the hard compound next weekend. Did you know there's a C0?
Yeah.
Yeah, there is no allocation for a C0 this year at all, whatsoever.
What do you mean?
Like, C0 is a compound. So you have the C1...
So that's the new one, isn't it?
Yeah, which we haven't... But, yeah, we haven't run it yet.
Did they not run it at Silverstone?
No.
I thought that's why they developed it.
Yeah, it hasn't been run. Won't be run so far.
Oh.
Won't be run in Belgium either. We haven't seen the C0 yet.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
All Signs...
All Signs.
Driver of the Year award. That's right. That's awesome. Thanks to All Signs. If you have any signage needs, and you're in the Melbourne area in particular, sing out to All Signs. They will do some amazing stuff. Check out their Instagram. Who's getting your 3, 2, and 1?
Who's getting my 3? Lando gets 3?
Lando gets... Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. 3.
Lando gets 3.
Mm-hmm.
Oscar gets 2.
Oh, I think you got that wrong.
Really?
I think you got that wrong.
Oh, no.
Anyway,
okay.
yep.
All right. Lando gets 3. Oscar gets 2. And if I'm looking for a 1, I think it has to go to Albon.
Oh, this is annoying. I feel like I'm going to have the same, just in different order.
Okay.
Yeah, look, Oscar has to have the 3 points.
Really? But
Well,
not really?
25 points, 25% less of the upgrade. So his car is not as fast
That's
as,
fair. That's
as
fair. Yep.
Norris's.
Yep.
I think he was probably faster than Norris at the start of that race. Told to hold position, which, like I said, I was fine with. I'm not dirty on McLaren like some other people. Adam, how we going, mate? But yeah, I'm not dirty on him for making that call. But yeah, he was the faster starter in a slower car.
Okay, fair.
Less experienced.
Yep.
However, the Norris pole, probably a bit unlucky. I'll give 2 points to Norris because it's great to see them in that position. And yeah, I think 1 point has to go to Alex because it was a great weekend to watch.
Okay, cool.
Yep. Oh boy, let's line them up. Who was your dud of the day? I've got so many.
Me, could have a lot, couldn't you?
Yeah,
you really could have a lot. I'm just going to go with, because I think I know who yours is going to be, and you'll need some time to rant on about it. I feel.
Oh, not really.
You're going to need some time. I think you're going to need some time. For me, simply just a nice simple dud is just the broadcast, and it's just the broadcast in general. Because
I'll cross that one off my list.
All right,
I won't have to do that one. That was one of them.
Well, I didn't know if you were going to have the broadcast up.
Because, it was going to be one of them.
Because I'll message you boys at 1 o'clock in the morning. Sorry if I woke you up. We were lap 5, 6 into it. We've got Max at the front. We've suddenly got a brand new contender in air quotes. For McLaren up there, we've got Lando, we've got Oscar. They're dragging each other along. Max is under pressure. They're in DRS. Oh my God, are we going to have a retake for the lead? I want to see what McLaren are doing.
By this stage, they've already replayed the start, even though they're fighting.
That's exactly right. They're currently on track, battling away. I'm there getting a bit of a restart highlight. Couldn't care less.
Yep.
And
not yet. I'm interested later.
Yep, absolutely. When I've got a lull.
When everyone's found their positions, that's when we should be going.
5-10 laps before, we're diving into pits for our first stop. And instead of being able to watch that really high-quality racing that I haven't seen all year, I had to watch Lewis in P9.
Disgusting.
About 2 seconds behind Fernando. Just not doing anything.
Disgusting.
And I don't want to see that. And I get I get that it was Silverstone weekend, and I get we're a little bit more biased towards the broadcasts with their British drivers, and that's fine. I'm okay with that.
No, I'm down with that too. But not when it comes to covering a race.
When we come down under, it's all Dan, it's all Oscar. I'm all right with that.
I really enjoyed the Ted and the Russell in the Jets.
Yeah, I thought it was cool.
Thought it was a really cool
Thought it was cool, absolutely.
Really cool
I
segment.
thought it was cool. I'll tell you a funny story about that shortly. And then, I didn't need to see that. And I don't know why I was watching it. And I was so frustrated because I was looking at it for 3 or 4 laps. And the whole time I'm thinking, why am I not watching the McLarens up front?
Yep.
And
why am I watching what's going on at the times instead of seeing the actual...
That's right. And I don't want to watch that little mini screen of just the halo going through. I want to see... that action on track that we're all starving for. I don't need to see Lewis in ninth.
Yep.
I really don't.
It's a good one.
Anyway, I'm not happy with that. Hey, I'll come back to it after he does.
Okay.
Because I'm mentioning it. You'll like it.
Perez.
Yeah.
Could be a dud.
Okay.
5 times not making Q3 in this incredible car. People are calling it the best there has been.
Could be a dud.
Could be a dud. Probably should be a dud.
Yep.
Let's talk about Stroll. Could be a dud.
Yep.
Is a dud. Should be the dud, but he's not going to get it for this one.
Okay.
Could be Lewis.
Could be Lewis.
Yeah. Lewis, there was lots of cringeworthy moments from Lewis, and I spoke about this earlier.
Yep.
For some reason, when we go to Silverstone, Lewis becomes more cringeworthy than ever. And I'm a fan of what Lewis does. I'm a fan of Lewis. I'm going to say it. I'm a fan of Lewis.
Okay.
I'm a fan of Max, so it's not a Lewis or Max thing.
Sure.
But I'm not a fan when Lewis goes cringy, which is regularly, unfortunately.
Give me an example of the most cringeworthy moment of the weekend from him.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for asking.
No, no worries.
The wind
I should get a list.
Is what makes this the best track in the world.
The what? The wind?
The wind is what makes this the best track in the world, was one of his comments.
Yep.
Please.
Okay.
The corners, the crowd, the layout,
yeah.
the fact that this is the home of motorsport, they're the reasons why this is an unbelievable track. We're not talking about the wind as making this the best track in the world.
It could be
Why
good
is
wind.
it that everything has to be the best in the world?
Yeah.
Here, what is he, Jeremy Clarkson, the fastest car in the world? It was incredibly annoying to watch him go through this.
Yep, okay.
I didn't do it. The crowd did it. Come on, Lewis.
I said the crowd gives you an extra half a second on that.
It is far too cringeworthy to be continuing to do this. I didn't do this, the crowd did it. Yeah. Come on, let's be real.
Showman at home.
Let's get rid of this. Just absolutely taking the piss.
Okay.
I'm not down with it.
All right.
So it could be, but he's not even my dud of the day.
Good, I was going to say.
He's not even my dud of the day.
Okay. Naomi Sheep? You've been...
Oh, no, well, I'm glad that you've come on board, but I didn't hate what she was doing.
No, there's a couple of moments. She asked the same question a couple of times.
Yes, and
again, I love everything that she does.
There was a few eye rolls from some of her people that she was talking to.
Yeah, even Lewis questioned. He goes, didn't you just ask me that question?
Yeah, and
I do love what she does, though.
There comes, for me, like with that, there certainly comes a polish after doing this for a long time.
Yeah, and
she hasn't got that yet, which we've got to be understanding of.
Yep.
Mine more was around her just a negativity.
Yep.
It was like she didn't like Formula One. There was too much negativity around things that she was saying.
Yep.
Get on the positive. You're working within the Formula One industry.
Yep.
I know you're tired.
Yep.
Because they all tell us how tired they are working in this industry, but get on board and get enjoying it.
Yep,
okay, because I know she does.
I know
she does, and she's a star. Like, she's a magnificent person to see in person.
Absolutely.
That and you're going to have to help me with some names.
All right, we'll do.
Alfa Romeo.
Yep.
They had a guest.
Yep. Cara Delevingne.
Who is
a model / pretty not great actress.
What's she been in?
Like Netflix movies.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, which is fine.
Some Netflix movies
I'm not quite on the same... I don't mind when celebrities turn up. Mm-hmm. It's okay. Because it's the glitz and the glamour that makes this sport magnificent. And she's not even going to get the dud.
What? Really?
Alfa Romeo is going to get the dud because they're the ones that had her on board.
Yeah.
And then they're the ones that didn't prepare her for Martin Brundle to come and say, hey, look, there's this really lovely guy.
Yep.
He's going to want to speak... Sorry, he possibly will speak to you on the grid.
Yep.
And he's not going to nail you with horrible questions.
Yeah.
Which he may nail you with a weird question.
Yep.
But he doesn't mean bad by it. It's live.
Yep.
It's going to look bad if you give him nothing. So just say, that you're really looking forward to the race and learning about the sport.
Yep.
You've really enjoyed your time with Alfa Romeo.
Yep.
You hope that Valtteri does really well, or you love what Zhou Wan Yu's doing at the moment. Just do that, okay? Because that'll be fine. Don't put her in the situation where she freezes up. Yep. Even though she's in TV, she should be better than this.
Yep.
Don't put her in a situation where, oh, hang on, is this guy going to try and take the piss out of me and make me look silly?
Yep.
And so I'm not going to tell him anything. It's going to make Martin say something about me, which is going to be embarrassing for me.
Yep.
But then go and say respect goes both ways on your social media.
Oh, yeah.
When everyone hammers them.
Absolutely.
Because that was your responsibility. You
Yep.
brought her here.
Yep.
You've got the PR team.
Yep.
So go and make sure she knows what's going on.
Yep.
Go and be friendly. Everyone who embraces Martin comes off looking fantastic.
Yep.
All the others turn up to these racetracks
Yep.
and all of a sudden turns an audience against these people. It is on Alfa Romeo
Yep.
to get that right, and their PR
Yep.
team has to stand up
Yep.
and take responsibility, but then don't go and throw it back on social media as if she's been attacked, because she hasn't been attacked. She
Yeah.
wandered into that domain.
Yep.
Ridiculous.
I agree with you. I think Alfa Romeo have lost a huge amount of credibility with fans in general. They will have lost a ridiculous amount of fans as well. You're right. I think for that sort of, I'm going ahead and I'm just going to go and post that and say respect goes both ways, because I don't think Martin was rude or disrespectful in any sort of way. But at
By going to say hello to a celebrity who is there to promote the sport.
And then for Alfa Romeo to then go and promote her entire weekend's track activities in a video, you know, you can't openly say no, she's not speaking just for 1 second, but then go ahead and say, but now here is her entire weekend with us as a team, and then say, you know, respect goes both ways.
Yep.
She has been absolutely hammered on her social media, and I mean absolutely hammered by fans. Here's just a couple of examples, of the comments that people have made. Stay away from F1. Please never turn up to F1 ever again. Never attend an F1 race.
But see, it wasn't like she was overly rude about it.
No.
She didn't. I didn't feel like her. Like
I kind of did.
She should have said, yeah, absolutely. But she sort of said, oh, what am I going to say? Like, what do I know to say? But that's on all of her support people. I feel for her. Like, her PR team should have been onto it.
No, I thought she handled it poorly too, because she was like, no, and then pretended to not hear. Like, you could hear everything. Yeah. You heard.
Yeah.
She turned and said no. He said no, and then was listening. Like, she knew what was going on, and then to say, I can't hear anything, and then gave a bit of a woo and a thumbs up celebration at the end. No, that was just being a jerk.
But it was all on them to make that work, and it's on every team. If you're bringing celebrities to this grid, just prep them. It's easier to say, hey, how are you going?
Yep.
You don't have to take everyone else's, because they say, oh, we're not doing media on the grid.
Yep.
Just do Martin's then.
Yep.
Because no one else is putting you in this situation. No one else is getting the headlines. You're looking like a deal.
But I mean, if you think about, look, Brad Pitt's a prime example. He snubbed Martin at Miami or something like that. I think it was this year or last year. Totally snubbed him and gave him nothing. Fans in uproars about that. He came out and apologised after that. But then did a promo video for the upcoming film and did it with Martin. But then I feel like happy to do the promo video
when it was for him,
because it's in his best interest to promote his film.
I think he's learnt from the experience, though.
Yeah, but then can you say the same for her, where she's happy for, don't talk to me, I'm here just enjoying the Grand Prix, but I'm happy for this team to do a fully produced, high-quality video montage of my weekend.
Yep.
But don't ask me a quick question. Is it time that we just fully say goodbye to celebrities on the grid?
No, absolutely not. The glitz and the glamour is important. It's time we say goodbye to PR teams that don't prepare them properly.
I think it's I disagree with that. I think it is time. It is time to fully say farewell to celebrities on the grid.
So we're not going to have anyone on the grid. The grid will be no more.
We will have teams on the grid. We will have team personnel, drivers, all that kind of stuff on the grid.
X-races.
We can have some X-racers on the grid who are there as part of... So Mika Hakkinen, who is part of McLaren, that's fine. We can have the FIA on the grid, and that's it. And we have drivers.
That's boring. That's every other sport. No one wants to turn up to go and stand on a Formula E grid. No one wants to turn up to the Le Mans grid. It's fine. Just make sure they are prepared properly.
I think for as much as it was really disrespectful, the interaction with Martin, at the same time, I really don't care what she has to say.
No, I'm with you.
At all.
I'm with you.
But then the flip side of that is, and I don't know who this person is, but the British musician that was interviewed prior to her by Martin, I have no idea who that person is, but gave a really good, quick insight into his awareness, and that's my sort of conflict there, is that I don't want to hear from a celebrity like her. I really couldn't care less what you're doing there. I really don't want to see you, and I don't want to hear your opinion, because I know it's sort of fake. But then at the same time, you've got guys like that guy, again, I don't know what his name is, I'll have to go back and have a look, who was knowledgeable and gave a good insight, but I'm quite happy to listen to you. You know, I'd love Martin just to go up to, like tickets like that, passes like that, should be going to your everyday fans who are there. Like,
Gordon Ramsay was great, and he's good.
He was good.
Yeah.
I don't know, there's so many different conflicting sort of thoughts here. Does Martin even need to ask these people any questions anymore? Does he need to just go, you know, you're an American Hollywood celebrity, I'm not going to go and ask you a question. I don't know. There's a lot of different points there. F1.5.
Whoa. This is going to be a bit of a shake-up, I feel.
Can I give you a quick hero of the hour?
Oh, yes, please.
Because you mentioned...
Yes, please. But as long as it's not Damon Lewis for singing that national anthem, because you're an actor doesn't mean you should sing.
Oh, boy.
We went from the best to awkward, did we not?
It was really awkward.
I like my favourite series of all time is Band of Brothers, and he is the hero character, Dick Winters. Have we spoken about this?
No, continue. Yeah, we did. We did last week.
Not on this, afterwards.
Yep,
Dick Winters on Band of Brothers is
Yep.
Damien Lewis.
Yep.
I think it's Damien or Damon. Damien Lewis.
Yep.
And he is magnificent on there. He's been on some other TV shows that I've really, really enjoyed.
Yep.
Doesn't mean you should sing the national anthem. He was nervous about it. Fair enough. Let's get a singer to do the singing.
But just
Is that a good idea?
Yeah, just a single saxophone. I don't know. It was a weird style. It was... Are you fixated with national anthems now after what was really just the...
I think we just replay
orchestra
that.
fan.
It doesn't matter if we're in Australia. We'll hear the Austrian national anthem, please. Fantastic.
I love it.
Yeah.
He's a real outside of the box. Hero of the hour.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned the George interview. And it goes to my lovely other half.
Oh.
Is our hero of the hour.
Why?
Because...
Oh, she's wonderful.
She had a nap in the afternoon. No, had to sleep in this morning. Had to sleep in on Sunday morning.
Yep.
I need to sleep in, so that's fine, no worries. So then got towards the end of the night and usually goes to bed when the F1 is on, which is fine because don't talk to me when F1's going on.
Oh, yeah, it's the worst.
It's just the worst. Anyway, and then so she was up a little bit later and was like, oh, just...
Great.
You know,
Go do your own thing.
I'll just join you. I'll join you. Which I'm like, okay, that's fine. Anyway, and was happily just sort of sitting there. And she put in, like, she was trying really, really hard to make conversation about F1. Because I know she does know a little bit about it. You'd be surprised. I'll tell you what she knows about very shortly. She knows a little bit about it. And then was sort of asking questions about what was George doing and what's this little segment. And then sort of started saying to me, when is this race actually starting? And I thought, that's lovely. I love you for staying up with me. But... yeah, anyway, but she knows, she's been talking up Charles this last month.
Charles Leclerc.
Saw Charles for the first time and was like, oh.
Handsome?
Yeah, handsome.
Is that what it was?
Handsome.
Yep.
That's fine. She
good.
loves...
I agree.
She loves Dan.
Handsome man.
You know, Pierre's probably the most handsome looking man on the grid, to be honest. And then she's like, love Charles. I'm like, that's okay. I'm okay with that. That's fine. Anyway, I soon found out that it's actually not Charles that she thinks is the most beautiful man. It is the man...
George Russell.
No.
Oh.
It is the man. It is the number one mechanic who waves Charles out of the pit box. She's like... because she's like, who's the Ferrari guy? And I'm like, which one? She's like, the one with, like, you know, number 16. I'm like, well, that's Charles. And she's like, yeah, I like him. Anyway, he came on after George's segment, and she goes, who's that? And I'm like, there he is, there's your man. She's like, who's that? I'm like, that's Charles. She said, like, number 16. She's like, nah, not him. And then she waited, hung around for the race to start, and watched the little bit, wanted to see if they were going to wave the cars. Sure enough, Ferrari got waved out. She's like, nah, him. And it was the mechanic who was there waving Charles out. She's like, I love him. I was like, wow, there you go.
What a hero.
What a hero. So, hero. Good on her for knowing.
I
didn't know who that was. Anyway.
F1.5.
F1.5.
Please.
F1.5.
Good hero, though. I do like it.
Yeah, she loves it. She loves it.
Feels like there's some big winners and some big losers.
Some big winners and some big losers. All right. All right. Just to mix it up this week, I'm just going to throw you a driver and their points, and then we'll do the top three.
Okay.
So I'm not going to do it in ladder order this week.
Okay.
I'm just going to throw you driver, points, where they are. All right, let's start with the little mini championships that are going on. Fastest lap, Lando. Fastest lap is now equal leading with Gasly. He's taken another fastest lap. That's 2 weekends in a row. Lando's got 3, Gasly's got 3, Zhou, Ocon, Hulk, and K-Mag all sharing 1 point each. Cool. So it's tied for fastest lap championship. Pole award, again, goes to Lando, so he's now tied with Ocon on 3. Gasly, Albon, K-Mag, and Hulk all 1 each.
Feels like a thing going on
here. So a bit of a thing going on here with the fastest lap and pole position.
Tell you what, McLaren's been good for 2 weekends now.
Yep, and has now tied it with the Alpine boys. All right, Logan Sargent, who was relegated a couple of weeks ago for being dead last, is now not dead last anymore. 12 points this weekend, is now on 40 points.
Are you unrelegating him?
No, I'm not unrelegating, but he has clawed himself off the bottom of the ladder.
I smell a relegation.
Entering our relegation zone is Nick de Vries with a lazy 2 points. He now has 5 less points than Logan Sargent.
I can't believe Helmet put him on notice before you did.
Oh, yeah, well, I haven't put him on notice. I've just sacked him literally right there and then.
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, Helmet's given him 4 weeks. Yeah. That's it, he's done.
Oh, yeah.
So 35 points. So de Vries is officially... Sorry, Nick de Vries fans. Do you reckon there are any Nick de Vries fans out there? I like his helmet. I really do. It's
Everyone's
nice.
got parents.
Yeah, it's nice. So anyway, de Vries is relegated, 35 points. K-Mag doing what K-Mag does and scores no points.
Is he in a really bad way at the moment?
Again.
Being pantsed by his teammate in whenever they're racing. They seem like they're not racing quite a bit these days, the Haas.
They seem like they're just DNFing a lot. They're turning up and DNFing.
Yes, but when they are racing, he's getting pantsed a bit.
Yeah. No, sorry. They're turning up, they're qualifying really well, and then just drifting and not running. So K-Mag, another week, no points, 51. He's very close to relegation. Very close.
Whoa.
No points next week, and he's relegated. Putting him on notice.
I like this. I like a bit more of a stern hand.
Yeah, absolutely. Hulk has now jumped him. He's on 59 points. He scored 8 for the weekend. You're then looking at Bottas, who had a pretty tidy weekend. F1.5. 10 points, jumps to 81. And Zhou scores 6, jumps to 87. You've got Tsunoda, who added 4, jumps up to 88.
I'm really lost on who's where on the ladder.
Yep, that's okay. You've then got Oscar, who was a huge winner from the weekend.
Well, he was at the bottom of the pack by memory last week.
He was 72, so he was drifting in about the Zhou, Albon, Tsunoda, Bottas. He was at the bottom, because Tsunoda last week had 84, he's now on 88. Tsunoda was 4th. Piastri was right down there. He has now jumped up to 5th position, and he's now on 90 points. So a massive weekend. 18 points for Oscar from 72, 90 points. And then you've got Albon, who had another monster weekend as well. 15 points to Albon. He now sits in 3rd position.
You are going through these in order.
3rd position. I kind of am, aren't I? I didn't think I was. So Albon is now in 3rd position.
You've
on
confused me
48 points. Sorry, not 48. 98.
98.
Albon's in 3rd on 98 points, which means that in 2nd place...
Who's in 4th?
Who was in 4th?
No, who's in 4th?
Well, I'll tell you very shortly.
Oh, sorry. My apologies. I see why you're being so sneaky about
What's
this.
going on here? So Albon is in 3rd position.
Understood.
Because
Sorry.
in 2nd,
one of these
it is an
Alpines
equal 2nd position, which is Lando and Ocon are equal on 129 points. So they are equal 2nd in the championship.
Can you have...
Yep.
I've had this conversation.
I can.
Keep
ask me
going.
questions. I can have whatever I like.
We'll do it at the end.
So Albon in 3rd, 98. We've got Ocon and Lando, equal 2nd position on 129 points. And then you've got Pierre Gasly, who only scored, even though he DNF'd, he was still the last runner and scored a single solitary point. So on 137. Gasly.
He gets a point?
Gets a point. gets a point.
You can't get a point DNF.
137 points. He gets a single point. Gasly, 137. Ocon Lando, 129. And Alex Albon, 98 points. That's F1.5 for this week.
Excellent.
Excellent, as always.
I wasn't sure whether little Lando had managed to overtake the two Alpine boys.
No, he was still a handful.
Hasn't overtaken either of them, in
Hasn't actually, no. Equal pegging. Anyway, there you go.
If you're an equal second,
Yep.
does third place exist, or do you go first, second, fourth?
Yeah, I think third place exists.
Let us know out there, because I'm not entirely sure that's actually accurate. I'm interested.
Let me know so I can ignore you. Hey, did you know, before we get on to fantasy?
No, we're not getting to fantasy yet.
Yes, we are. We're not. When are we getting on to fantasy?
Yeah, all right, we can.
Are we getting on to fantasy?
We'll do my segment last.
All right. Did you know there's a little Easter egg I found? Easter egg. You know what I mean by Easter egg when I say Easter egg?
Like the chocolate that you eat?
No, like a little online, like little secret sort of thing. I wouldn't say secret. But you know, if you go...
No idea what you're talking about.
So if you go on the F1 website and you click on a race weekend, and then you scroll down the page... It might take you a while, though, because it takes a long time to load. But I found this over the weekend. If you scroll right down the page, you will see Race Program. And if you click on Race Program that's in there, it will actually give you no, wrong place. In the schedule.
Schedule.
You go Schedule. Yep. And then you go, like, click, wherever you are, and scroll down.
This is a good podcast.
Scroll down. Official Race Program. And then you can actually get a digital copy of the race program prior to the race weekend to flick through and read.
That's
and it exists there.
Quite cool.
Isn't it cool? I did not know it existed. I accidentally clicked on it over the weekend trying to find something else I was looking for, and it gives you a digital copy right there, which you can download and you can read. Got all the goodies of a race program. So you don't actually have to attend the track to get the race program. It's a fantastic little thing I found. So if you've not seen that before, I reckon there'd be people out there that haven't actually trolled that far through and into the actual F1 website. So there it is. So if you want to get all reading about Hungary on the 21st of July.
And it is very digital because there's actually videos and stuff to watch.
There's videos, there's all that kind of stuff. It's like a race program that comes to life. Anyway, little Easter egg that I stumbled across. I wonder how many fans know that exists.
Let's go to fantasy.
Thanks to Chris
now
at Dr. Auto Art.
I'm trying to download something.
Thanks to Chris at Dr. Auto Art for all of his fantastic prizes, being a great sponsor. Were we going to have Chris on this weekend?
We were, but it's later in the year.
Okay, all right. I was kind of looking forward to it.
No. We couldn't make the timings work out. So later I did reach out. It wasn't that I didn't reach out.
He did inbox me because he saw I posted a photo of Dan in his Red Bull kit ready to go, and he's like, please be quick. I was like, amen, my friend, amen. Anyway, thanks to Chris. Check out his Instagram, Facebook, Redbubble, all the great things. If you're a MotoGP fan, you'll see awesome examples of that. If you're a historic Formula One fan, you'll see great artworks of all the past drivers and world champions. And if you are a current fan of just all things amazing F1 art, that is your place to go. If you're looking for a helmet as well, get in touch with Chris. He does amazing graffiti art helmets too. Race weekend. British Grand Prix. Top three from the race weekend is just Asterix Q and Ricky Bobby Racing School sharing the chocolates on 257 points. And in third place, Let's Go Fernando, 255 points. So the top three for the race weekend. You were sitting pretty in 8th place, my friend, which is pretty good, on 242 points.
I want to tell you something I did.
Go for it.
I did the whole...
I saw what you did.
Did you?
I did.
After the qualifying, and it was real that McLaren were on, I brought in Oscar Piastri for Gasly.
And I'm glad you did it because you actually showed me how it works. Because I'll tell you very shortly how it works, where you could have had a few extra points if you had done it a bit earlier. Did you do it straight after qualifying?
Yes.
Yes, thought so.
Well, that's when you have to use it.
Yeah, so what it does, so Oscar actually scored. So you brought Oscar in. So tell everyone what you did, and then I'll tell you how it actually works.
After qualifying, I brought Oscar in and kicked out Pierre Gasly, and
Yep.
if you use the chip, you can do it after qualifying.
Yep. So Pierre scored minus points on the weekend, but you've scored a point for Pierre. So the moment that you throw that chip in, whatever those drivers are on are locked in. So if you do it after qualifying, what you missed out on was Oscar's qualifying points. Because it happens.
you don't use,
no, I know,
you
but I didn't know that happened.
Qualifying.
No, but I didn't know that happened. I thought you do it after qualifying, and you still get their qualifying.
Oh
points.
So
Yeah.
you don't. You end up with 0. Oscar was on 0.
Yeah.
When I brought him in.
Yeah, so you got
even though he would have had points for qualifying.
Yeah.
Yes,
So anyway,
I'm
that was
with you.
interesting
Sorry,
to see that
I'm
you
with
did that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, yes, good job. So you brought in Oscar.
I wanted to bring
like
in.
that.
I did want to bring in Norris for
Yep.
Perez, but I decided I'll leave Perez in there. He's coming through the field.
Yep.
I wanted to get rid of Hulkenberg. The whole idea was to get rid of Hulkenberg. But
Yep.
if you get rid of Hulkenberg, you don't have any money for anyone else.
That's
turns
exactly
out.
right.
He's
exactly
cost
right.
me. He has cost me on 0. Anyway, so
Anyway.
yeah, I'm quite happy with it.
Good.
Yep.
Nice work. My weekend looked not too bad. I rolled the dice. I ended up on 237 points. I rolled the dice with Joe and Sargent. In the end, it worked out all right because Sargent scored 6 and Joe scored 6. So
So it was just nothing.
just
We
really,
ended up-
just I didn't feel bad because I didn't lose any points.
Okay.
Verstappen 92, Perez 26, Fernando 12, Stroll 2, Red Bull 77, Aston 22.
Are you sticking with Sargent?
No.
Okay.
No, track specific for the Williams.
Okay.
So he will be out very shortly. Anyway, got a bit of an idea on what I'm going to do in Hungary.
Oh, some big moves.
Might be some big moves on the way. Top 5 is looking like this.
Feels like a Ferrari driver's coming in.
Absolutely not. Looking like this. Red Bull Catering Fund, 3,047. This is how tight it is. 3,047. Position 4, Party in the back, 3,055. In third place, Massey did nothing wrong, 3,072. 9 points adrift of WW Jolien PD on 3,081, who is then only a further 7 points adrift of my great self on 3,088 points, leading the chart. Just 2 weekends in a row. I'm holding steady. I'm happy with that.
Okay.
Anyway, that's fantasy for the week. You're sitting pretty in 12th position, 2,975.
What's he stuck with his team? Because we were on the same team.
You were.
He ended up with 192 points. I ended up with 240. What a move.
Huge move.
Yeah, I'm happy with myself.
I feel that. I mean, there's a generic sort of 2 paths you can go in fantasy. It's really kind of like your team, what you've got, or it's my team that I've got. And there's a lot of the 2 Red Bulls, the 2 Astons, and then Joe.
Yep.
There's a lot of that right across just the entire competition.
Surely the prices are going to change enough for people to start making some changes. So
They are, and there's another pathway that I'm thinking of taking, which might see a little bit of a switch out of some
yeah,
big
well, I was going
names.
to say I've managed to free up a bunch of money.
Have you?
Oh no, I haven't, because now Pierre Gasly's back. I thought it was a permanent move.
It's not a permanent move.
Ah.
It all goes back. Your chips all go back. What are you thinking for next week? If you're going to make a change, what are you thinking?
Well, Gasly's out.
Yep.
To free up some money and bring in Oscar Piastri. I'm going to stick with the Oscar move.
Yep.
I'm not going to free up a huge amount of money doing that, in actual fact.
Yep.
That's annoying. But yeah, and then I want to free up some money to get Hulkenberg out.
Okay.
He's costing me.
He is.
So yeah, once I can get him out, anyone will be better than him nearly.
Well, I'll tell you what.
If I could get Albon.
This is my thought. This is my thought for Hungary. This is my game plan for Hungary. I don't know how many of our listeners actually listen to. Who cares? We don't get a prize anyway, do we?
Nope.
So my thought for Hungary is I'm going to keep an eye on practice 1, 2, and 3.
But I'd be wrapped if you went on top at the end.
Sorry, I'll be wrapped if I am.
Continue.
If practice works out all right for McLaren, if by P3 the McLarens are on it, I will dump Fernando and Stroll and
Whoa.
Aston, and it mathematically works with my cash. And I will bring in Oscar and Lando and McLaren. So it will be a full team.
Weren't you
swap
talking
out.
about the fact that this track wasn't going to suit
I'm
them?
just gonna. I said I'm just gonna wait and see. So I've already done the maths. It all works. My cost cap bits. I've got 1.1 mil still in the bank. How much have you got left?
I've got 0.2.
0.2. That's where you're in trouble there. Anyway, it will be a full Aston to McLaren swap out if by practice 3 the McLarens are on it.
How many does that cost? How many things can you... I get 3 transfers.
Yeah, so I'll take it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, before we finish up. Oh, no, we've got news.
You've got your segment. You've got your segment.
It's been by special request.
All right, go for it.
I'm just wary of the time.
That's fine. We can go through a segment.
Special request.
It's not a huge amount of news
Return
anyway.
segment. How are they sleeping?
Oh, no.
How are they sleeping? And it's been highly rated. People were big fans of it originally.
Who?
People.
Who?
The people.
That's like saying who said that, and you go, everyone.
No, not everyone.
That's... Oh.
The people said that. I tell you, the greatest fans in the world, if you're Lewis. So, how are they sleeping? And we're doing a team principal edition. I like to change it around a little bit. I think we've actually done team principal. But I think McLaren's actually causing some dramas for people here. So, let's start with, we're going to go through the grid as they go down.
Oh, all right.
How are they sleeping? Okay. Christian Horner. How is he sleeping?
Christian Horner's having morning sleep-ins, and he's probably getting up at about 11 o'clock.
This is good, isn't it?
I hate it.
This is good, isn't it?
I hate it so much.
He is. I agree. His life is good.
He's having to sleep.
He's sleeping knowing the fact that he's going to go for a nice, relaxed lunch with ginger spice. And then he's going to be able to roll into the factory. Things are going to be good.
Ginger Spice was talking to Cara Delvine on the grid.
Is that the person I wasn't happy with?
That's the person you weren't happy with.
All right. Toto Wolff.
Toto Wolff.
How is Toto sleeping?
How's Toto sleeping?
He comes with the extra. There's extra baggage with Toto, but I sort of think it helps him sleep a little bit better. Being an owner of the team, it's not like he's under pressure the same way that other team principals are.
Yeah.
But how's he sleeping at the moment?
I think Toto's having a couple of early nights now. I think he's fully openly. They've said, well, we're owned it. I'm scrapping the concept, so I don't need.
So he's gone to stress-free levels.
He's on holidays. Toto's on holidays. It's like when you and I are on holidays.
We're now moving into next year, thinking about next year.
Yep. I don't need to stay up and do any work after the family's gone to bed. Go to bed.
Okay, I understand. I tend to agree with you on that one. I do tend to agree with you on that one because I feel like it's time for them, right, this isn't going to be our season, but we know what we're doing.
Yep.
I've got the plan in place.
Yep.
We're going to make it happen.
Okay.
All right, Aston Martin. Mike Crack.
Yep.
Mike Crack?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
How's he sleeping at the moment?
I think Mike's...
Being overtaken by McLaren.
I think Mike's currently asleep.
Oh, he's asleep at the wheel.
He's actually asleep right now.
Oh, I see.
I think he's currently asleep.
This is a good segment.
He hasn't woken up yet.
This is a good
I don't know if it's a good segment.
All right, Ferrari. There are gonna be heads rolling.
Yeah, Fred's having broken sleep. Fred's having newborn baby broken sleep.
Well, I'm not so concerned about his sleep.
But this is.
I don't know that he will be sleeping at all though, because of the job that he's about to do.
Fred's going to bed at 9. And he's waking up at 11.
Yeah.
And then he's going back to bed at 12:15.
Yep.
But then he's waking up at 12:30.
Yep.
And then he's going back to bed at 1. And then he's up at 4. And then he's up at 4:30. And he's just... That's how Fred's sleeping.
Whenever he wakes up, he's writing a new name in the strategy team that's on their way out.
Yeah, Fred's having newborn baby sleep.
Yeah. All right. McLaren. Andrea Stella.
Andrea Stella's like hungover sleeping.
Yeah, life is good. There was a great deal.
He's passed out.
Did you see? They don't bring him out much. I mean, his English isn't his first language.
Correct.
But they don't bring him out much. But did you see they rolled him out this weekend?
Yes, absolutely.
And it was all about, well, how's this guy, hey?
Yeah.
How's this guy? So he is very proud. He's in silk sheets at the moment.
Yep.
He's probably absolutely a little hungover.
Yep.
But life is good. I tend to agree with you.
He's probably got an earache from all the yelling that Zach Brown did across the weekend.
Alpine.
Just loves to yell, doesn't he?
Who's that, Zach?
Yeah, he yells.
Yeah, he's a bit of a yeller.
He yells a lot.
I like a bit of passion.
He yells a lot.
I like a bit of passion.
He's like your drunk uncle at a Christmas party, isn't he? He's just yelling and hugging you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Alpine.
Alpine. You would say, I don't think Alpine is sleeping.
Well, now that McLaren's done what they've done...
They're pulling late nights. They're
late nights are happening.
They're
about to get another run-through from the CEO of the company.
Alpine are running night shift and they're sleeping during the day because they're up repairing
There's
The
talk
damage.
that the head office is employing more people to oversee the company of,
Yes, I think
of racing.
I think
so
there actually
they
was.
brought on it's a VP.
Yep.
So they brought on another VP because they need some more people overseeing it. The one run through from the boss saying, "Look, you cannot continue with this crap. You've got to start bringing out the results." There's there's a little bit of pressure on Otmar all of a sudden.
Yep.
Williams, James Ellison.
Williams, yeah, I think
The
James-
Messiah. It can't be his
Messiah,
work.
It has to be.
It can't be his
I
work. It's
told
too
you.
soon for him to
No,
have that result.
Absolutely not. He is having a huge impact in this team.
Do you think he's sleeping though, or do you think he's just working on with adrenaline?
Yeah, I think he's on no dose. He's on straight black coffee.
4 hours,
He's on 4 hours of sleep,
and no one else is allowed to sleep more than 4 hours because
he
we're working at
is
this. This is going well.
buzzing. He is absolutely buzzing. He is straight black hot water. He's literally teaspoons of coffee out of the jar. Don't even worry about liquid going through it. I'll just chew it and swallow it.
Haas.
Gone.
Gone away a little bit. Like we don't see a lot of Gunter anymore, do we?
I think it's okay.
Yeah. There was too much. I
think
agree.
so. For a team that I don't want to say irrelevant, but at times they feel quite irrelevant in the sport, don't they?
Yep.
Far too much media for a team that don't really do anything.
Well, yeah, not enough.
Anything.
But yeah, I feel like there isn't any more relevant teams anymore. But I agree with where you're going with this. How is he sleeping though?
Oh. I don't really know.
It's a tricky one.
I don't really know.
It's a tricky one, isn't it?
I don't really know.
Because they're sort of hidden at the back there. It's a tricky one.
Do you think he's just having just your straight 8 hours and
No,
just...
I feel like he's a little worried about whoever buys this team
Yep.
might be ready to move him on.
Okay, maybe.
But maybe is he the star of this team? Maybe that's what gives him these 8 hours of sleep.
Maybe, I don't know.
I'm the biggest star in this team. Don't worry about the drivers.
Yep.
I'm important to this team.
Haas won't be sold.
Alfa Romeo. Haas won't be sold?
No.
Probably not at the moment.
No.
Possibly in time.
No.
Got a feeling Gene Haas is going to cash in at some stage with these new evaluations. Alfa Romeo, we've got Andreas Seidel in there now. Yep.
Yes,
yep.
good,
Oh, actually,
yeah.
he's a CEO in actual
He is
fact.
CEO, but sort of leading it up.
Yeah, he is at the moment.
In a sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thoughts?
Jeez.
Is it James Key now in that role? Is he technical director?
Yes, he has gone there, but I don't know if he has started yet or if he's on gardening leave.
Could be, yep.
Could be on that.
How are they sleeping?
I don't know. I think they're probably sleeping much similar to what Gunter is, aren't they?
It's a long, drawn sleep at the moment because they're on the long, steady program. They don't have to be good until 2026.
Hey, that's correct.
So there's sleep-ins happening.
Which are doing a great job at not being good until
They're staying up
2026.
late, but they're not working late.
No, they're just up. They're
They're up
procrastinating.
watching movies.
Yeah, they're getting the notebook out ready to go.
They're eating
and then,
things they shouldn't eat that late at
yeah,
night.
Yeah, they got honey soy chicken chips
Yep.
and, hot chocolates, and they've got the laptop open, they're ready to go. But before they start doing their work, they're quickly jumping on YouTube,
Yep.
or they're quickly flicking through Instagram Reels,
Yep.
and then they're sending thousands upon thousands of Instagram Reels to their partners at ridiculous hours of the morning. Does your lovely other half do that? Does she say I'm going to bed, and then suddenly you get 10 Instagram Reels pop up in you?
Yeah, it really annoys me a
do
lot.
too.
Yep. But anyway, she won't listen to this, so I can say whatever I want.
And then she asked me in the morning, "Oh, did you see that reel I sent you?" I'm like, "Yeah." Do you think it was funny? I'm like, "No,
Well,
no, I didn't."
yeah, well, that's your mistake.
I'm like, "It's not funny."
Yeah, of course it was funny. Thanks. For
Don't
that.
ever say
Val.
that you've seen it before too.
Oh yeah.
I've seen that one. Oh, well, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, good point.
I need to make
point.
you
Yeah,
make you aware of which ones I'd watched throughout the day.
My tip to you is start saying they're funny. I don't need to be funny with you to say
Well,
that.
I haven't seen it.
And then we've got AlphaTauri. How are AlphaTauri sleeping?
No one's at AlphaTauri.
Well, still got Franz Tost as
They've abandoned.
listed
Just
as
listed.
their team chief.
That's like when you
Now,
go.
he's left, hasn't he?
He will leave.
He
This
hasn't
is
left.
his farewell party.
Has he not left?
He hasn't left. He
Oh,
will
right.
be leaving. But it's very similar to like when you go on Wikipedia and you edit it for just some sort of ridiculous...
Do you think that maybe there's some sleepless nights because there's lots of job seeking going on?
No, I think
with-
they've all left.
With the thought of overtakes coming in.
I think Francis passed out in the back garden somewhere, and he's in no hurry to be got up.
I think the segment's been a success. I'll have a new group of people from the Formula One grid for you next week. Thank you very much to Alex and the people.
Alex and the people. I can't wait to hear who these other people are.
No, the people have requested it.
Okay, very good. Very good.
Absolutely. News, we've got plenty of news. This is another long episode. We're going to struggle to get all these in. Rightio, there's plenty to get through in the news here.
All right, give me a quick rundown. I've actually only got one quick point of news.
Andretti.
Yes, that's what I was going to make
To
point of.
hear about 2025. Now, this isn't 2026.
Okay.
I find it fascinating that they want to be in for 2025.
Yeah, I don't mind that because then you get a year.
But then you got to read. But you don't get that free reign of development.
Yeah.
With that new engine.
It's a bit of a free kick, though, to get the other bits right.
Yeah, I wonder what's better. Do you just get everything else working? Anyway, it's an interesting one. So,
12
Andretti,
months of getting your
they're going to
team
find
up
out on the
organised.
15th of July. Now, we know Formula One.
Oh, it's Sunday.
I can nearly guarantee
Saturday.
we're not going to hear about it
Absolutely
on the 15th
not.
of July. It's very Formula One not to tell them that. High Tech have an entry in.
High Tech F2 have put an official 26.
They've put in the request for the 2026. They're an F2 team.
They are, yep.
They want to step up.
Yep.
They feel a lot like the HRT of the world.
Yeah.
I mean, they've done great things and they've shown good continued competitiveness and the ability to run a good team in F2. Different story when it comes to F1, but I think they're just putting their hat in the ring. The thing with these teams are, as soon as you get one, you won't have to pay $600 million now.
Yep.
But it's going to be worth $1 billion.
Yep.
And even though we're bringing in some extra teams, the investment just to get that team, just get your name on that team, and then be able to sell it in a couple of years is going to be a good investment.
So High Tech currently running F2, F3, Formula Regional Middle East Championship, GB3, F4 British Championship, Formula 4 UAE as well. So they're in quite a few different championships.
I think for them to have a role in Formula One, I think they need to be the development team. They're always bringing through some development drivers.
Yes, well, current drivers include Jack Crawford, who's American, Isaac Hadjar, who is French, and then you've got the big name in Formula 3 of Sebastian Montoya, and then Gabriel Mini and Luke Browning too.
So I'm quite interested. There are others. Some have chosen to go public with the fact that they're putting in a request, an application. Others are keeping it private.
So June 2023, it'll be determined if High Tech's entry is going to be okay to actually sort of go through. I don't expect
June 2023?
It says June 2023.
That's been.
Well, I guess it hasn't come through. Maybe that's incorrect there when I'm reading that.
I think that's when they announce it.
When they announce it. Look, I don't expect a High Tech bid to get up.
Well, so they're not pushing for such a soon entry, so their point might be a little bit later on. So I know that because Andretti are pushing for the 2025. They actually need to start getting things going. That's actually quite soon. That's a year and a half away.
Do you think High Tech could become the new AlphaTauri?
Yes, I think so.
That could be the link there?
Yeah, I don't think they'll buy them out because that's sort of expense. Like, it's now really expensive to buy a team out.
And none are for sale.
And none.
No one's going to sell.
Everyone's for sale at the right price.
I don't think
however, I know what you're saying.
Yes,
So no one is reporting that they're for sale. I mean, the report that $1 billion was offered to Williams, to Dorrington for Williams, when they only paid 200 and their debts. I think, sort of speaks volumes to that.
Yeah, and I know Andretti have inquired up and down the grid for all teams as the first pathway in, and all teams have said no to. So maybe that's it. Maybe that's a high-tech entry. It's just we know that AlphaTauri will have a new sponsor and a new name, so maybe that's the entry there, and I'll have a partnership running, because Liam Lawson was part of their program last year.
Finally, we're having some movement on some wet weather running. Now, it became a big topic. It became a big topic with the death of the young driver at Spa a couple of weeks ago. And we've finally had some movement. Now, this isn't because of that, obviously, because this has been in the works for a while. They are doing some testing on some wheel
The
guards.
rear guard. So I think that came out really early in the season too. That there was rumours that the wheel guards are going to be.
We've been calling for this for years.
It's going to stop the rooster tail.
There's a couple of things like wet weather.
Yep.
The aquaplane, but the biggest issue is, and we saw this unfortunately a couple of weeks ago, is the lack of visibility. And so they're looking at it's a mud guard. It's about keeping the water down, reducing the rooster tails, trying to stop that spray from happening. It's sort of doing the opposite to what the tyres want to do. The tyres want to spread that water as far and wide as they possibly can. What these are doing is the tyres are going to flick it into this space, and it's going to try and keep it down, and ideally, it's going to try and wash it into the crowd. So that's where they're wanting to push it. And I think there's going to be quite a bit of movement on this. They're talking what's going to happen is if it's class a wet race, teams will be forced to start with these on, and they will be forced to race throughout. So if it dries up, they don't come off. They stay on. If it becomes a wet race, it becomes classed as a wet race where visibility is an issue, they're going to red flag and they're going to have a set amount of time to install these wheel guards. So it's an interesting scenario. It's better than the scenario we saw at Spa a couple of years ago where we didn't get any running because the visibility was always going to be too poor.
That's fair enough.
I love this idea.
I don't mind it.
I love that they should be sinking as much time and effort and money into this as possible because it could allow for some fantastic racing in the conditions we want to see these cars.
So Schumacher and McLaren will be running that currently now at Silverstone though. So we should, if you're listening to this straight away when we upload it, and it's still Tuesday night, have a look on Instagram and whatever, because I reckon on the socials there'll be some examples of what that rear guard looks like.
Last bit of news. We heard Jenny Gow. Now, Jenny Gow from BBC. She had a stroke at the start of this year, and fantastic. If you listen to any of the BBC stuff around F1, she's a fantastic voice in Formula One. She had a stroke and was very, very unwell for a long time. Started to get some speech back, and we heard her for the first time on the weekend. I want to welcome her back. It was great to hear her. She had a wonderful interview with Lewis, and Lewis was fantastic with her in this moment. And that's the funny thing about Lewis. He can be so brilliant in some moments and then so cringeworthy in other moments. But yeah, that's the last bit of news. Any news you want to discuss?
No, that's it from me.
Fantastic. Look, keep an eye out for Fan Frenzy. We will have the Hungarian Grand Prix coming up in a couple of weeks' time. But until then, enjoy your racing and enjoy everything else. Goodbye now.